Hello, everybody. I'm Howler Mouse, and you are on the Gonzo review of John Byrne's Next Men. Um, Quite a few people actually requested this one, which surprises me. Um, Considered all the works that John Byrne did over the years, the many, many years, and technically he is still working. Um, for you people in the future and for you people in the now, I went ahead and I have put a link in the description box below for an actual live show review proper that I did back in 2020. I knew I'd done this before. I went over the Next Men many, many, many times over the years, just mentioning and talking about them. But a Gonzo review that really went well the last time I did it is where I'll pull out a set of a run of books. And last time it was John Byrne's Namor, where I haven't read it in quite a few years. So we just kind of go through and it's raw opinions. Me just kind of looking at things from a different point of view, and maybe some things come back to me, sometimes they don't. It's a bit more unpredictable, and it's not like a history lesson, if you will, right? So right, as you can see, we've already had people here that have already said hello. So we have John here. John is the role model here. Make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure that you have hit that bell so you know when I do these things and you can come in here and say hello. So share the video also for you guys out there so that people know we're here talking about comic books proper. Proper as it's an art form, people. Next man, can't wait, man. All right. Okay. So I'm saying a lot of people actually were excited about this one. Greetings, Afro. Hey, it's Afro SF. Sorry, guys. I have the computer a little bit further away than normal. Okay, so we're in a different setting. We are in the downstairs, where I am more cozy. I have a little bit more room to work because we are still going through the comic book room when I actually touch it. We're going to bring out Comic Cam. And just to let you guys know, for you people that may not know this, but one of the reasons Next Men, in my opinion, has stuck around and stayed in people's minds, not just because of John Byrne, that is creator and owned by him through and put out by Dark Horse and then later IDW. But it is also the first appearance. It's the series that Hellboy first appeared in, and then that was Next Men number 21, which that will be in the show if we make it through all 30 issues. Plus John Byrne's graphic novel 2112 that was attached to the project. So once again, Gonzo review, not a history lesson, right? We're actually looking at the book, going through it, see what I remember, see what the fresh eyes say, and could have some controversial opinions and stuff, right? Because I like John Byrne's Next Men. I have the promotional poster. I've had these books. I collected when it came out. I even have the Dark Horse Presents issues. Some of those actually had Sin City and also that the first four chapters appeared in. So yeah, I like the series, but we'll go through it and you'll see what I'm saying here, right? So let's bring out Comic Cam. Hello, Comic Cam. How are you? Comic Cam is having technical difficulties, so if you hear me, if you hear a little bit of an echo with the sound, let me know because it's for some reason it is also going through Comic Cam, right? And we're going to dive right in, guys. That's enough talking. Enough talking. Let's go back to the 90s, 1991, going into 1992, the tail end of 91, going into 92, right? So, of course, as you see here, if you know your comic book history, the 90s is considered to have a huge glut of comics that came out. I was there. In my 20s. I'd already been collecting comics since 1977, since I was a little kid. And I actually graduated the year that this came out. Everybody was real excited because John Byrne had been the man at Marvel. He rebooted Superman for his 50th anniversary. He came back and did some West Coast Avengers, Starbrand, this is Sensational She-Hulk. He had a little bit of drama. His style of work was changing as we went through the Namor Gonzo review. That was Coffee and Comics. That's how I titled that. I think I want to change it to Gonzo review, right? And then all of a sudden he's announcing his own creator-owned prospect, right? And right around the corner was Image. Image Comics was coming around. So John Byrne was a little bit ahead of his time. And you can go back to the review that I put down from 2020, the live show. I'm assuming I probably talked about the history of 2112 and Next Men and where it came from. Okay. But before we get into Next Men, there was this fantastic one shot. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I think I would rather have had John Byrne continue a series based off of this 2112 for you Rush fans out there, you Geddy Lee guys and all that stuff, right? Because basically I found this a bit more fascinating. Of course, this is in the future of the Next Men world, if you're real. 2112, we get to see that future. And it's very vague. We have to know what happens because it is a prequel to the Next Men that starts in the future. John Byrne had a thing. He was doing OMAC at the same time around this, a 4-issue miniseries, and he played with time travel. So John Byrne was a fan of time travel. I absolutely loved this when I saw this, right? We had the foreboding figure, right? If you ever seen, now that we're doing this in 2020, Mark Waid had a series called Empire where basically the bad guy succeeded in taking over the world. And that would come quite a few years after this, and that kind of looks like the main bad guy, the guy that did it anyway. So anyway, you can see future. We have skyscrapers amongst wreckage, and what do we have here? Dinosaurs in 2112, and this is before Jurassic Park, so their anatomy is old style, Land of the Lost style, if you will, right? But this thing is just fantastic. I loved when this came out. I felt like I was in the future. The 90s were coming. We were optimistic. Grunge was coming around there. The movie Singles was coming on. My 91 to 93, thanks to my 9 months sojourn of hitchhiking, and 1992 Superman died. I was working in a comic book shop, ended up running the thing at such a young age and all this stuff that some of it blends together, if you will, right? So right off the bat, you can see that John Byrne is doing what I talked about in Namor. He's recycling his artwork for the covers and for pages. And I remember when I did the Namor one, it's a little late now, it's popped in my head, but there was a page where we had the bad guy holding Namorita by the hair as she was slumped in the floor. That was a throwback to Storm in the Savage Land for you aficionados out there, right? So basically we start out, and what a way to grab the reader's attention, man. Byrne's coming in here by John Byrne. So everything in this is by John Byrne. I think he was working at home playing with computers. He was lettering. He was drawing and writing and inking his own work. So this was an exciting time for Byrne fanatics, right? And it turns out we have it's like cockfighting with roosters and stuff, right? Thanks to cloning or DNA testing or whatever was going on in the book at the time. It's an illegal fight. They have little pets. They brought back dinosaurs, and it's illegal. I know of cockfights that went on around here in the 90s and stuff where I'm from. And all of a sudden we have their version of the police. Almost Judge Dredd-like is what I thought at the time. I'd been picking up little bits and pieces of Judge Dredd at this time, thanks to Anthrax coming out with I Am the Law around 1986. And I was just that perfect age to be getting into Megadeth, Anthrax, Metallica, while I was like just also gluttonous with the hair bands that I'm still to this day trying to make peace with. But they come in and I'm like, oh, this is good. And I am pretty sure, grain of salt, allegedly, that at the same time that I was reading the OMAC miniseries that was coming out through DC that John Byrne did, I'm pretty sure I saw some of the recycled art here, if you will, right? So we get our action to get our attention. We have flying boots. We, basically guys taking on a bunch of rednecks gambling on dinosaurs and stuff, right? And we have people who are saying like, "Are you out of your GD mind? What do you think you're doing here? That's my husband. He's not some common crook you can manhandle. When my father hears about this, I happen to be here because your father asked me to come after you and your husband. Apparently, you don't know it, Miss Carter, but while you've been on your honeymoon, your so-called husband has been calling in ransom demands to your father. You haven't been married, Carter. So basically, we're getting a smell of this world building where it's all corrupt, it's all dirty, and it's all nasty. John Byrne has decided that he wants to be a science fiction writer with this series going into Next Men and stuff to have the smell of superhero stuff, right? So I feel like this is very melancholy. And in my opinion, the entire series was sort of held back from this, for this, right? To make it more like in the real world. We'd had New Universe, which he dabbled in with Starbrand in the Pit. That was based in the real world. And then we were having Valiant Comics coming up. They started Magnus. Oh my God, Valiant. It was Magnus the Robot Fighter #0 came out in 91, followed by, I believe, Solar. And then they built their universe that was in the real world. So we had quite a few things going on. It started out where we had quite a few people wanting to put superheroes in the real world, followed by everybody having amalgamations later. So many people. But anyway, we build up with this future world, and then the heroes come in, the big officers, if you will, right? And I'm sitting here like, this is so Judge Dredd, and the big boots and everything that was going on. John Byrne was playing around to the style. It was definitely, like I said, going into a new decade. And right here, the little robots, I was like, Total Recall. We even have drivers that are robots and everything. Remind me of the taxi drivers in Total Recall. And like I said, you see the world, and this tells a story. We had these futuristic skyscrapers but in the skyline, we have a decimated world here. And I think this was reminding me of OMAC and everything, right? So anyway, let me back this up. And we've seen enough of me. I like playing with this. I have no problem playing with this, but that's enough of seeing me. Let's get to the artwork a little bit. But anyway, we get our subplots. We get to know our person. More robots are going on. And we get philosophical talks about how, going all the way back to the caveman and the beginning of the world and, reaching for the stars. And all of a sudden we have satellites up in the world. I thought this was like Asteroid X or whatever it was, Magneto's secret lair back in the 60s and stuff, right? But we have some bad guys. All of a sudden, we have some bad guys. Not quite a brotherhood of evil mutants, if you will, but we have a lot of deformed people, and we're getting introduced to the main antagonist of what is that? Anyway, we're getting to our bad guy there. Sorry, the cat's distracting me. Of Xanathos, I think that's his name. Basically, we're trying to get compared to. He's trying to give you the image of this is a bad guy because his name sounds like Satan. But they're trying to bust him, and all of a sudden we find out that he's got some minions here, some very big, bad, superpowered people. And they somewhere along the line they kind of mentioned the project in Next Men. And there he is, guys, Santos. And all the people that sit here and pretty much they almost worship him more than being a team and he's their leader. It's very cult-like. A lot of evil imagery there. So we got to move on here, folks. But we get our plot going on, and we find out that he's almost vampire-like. He has to feed on people, their life essence, if you will. Very Skitsky-like from Dark Crystal. Very Skitsky-like, right? And this is how this guy ends up staying. He's very powerful, but it comes at a price. This made me think of like Elric and stuff, right? And then we have like more designs. Like I said, I thought 2112 was just much more rich. With what we could have done here, and his layouts are very simple. No backgrounds. We're like a lot of empty space being used in this evil lair. Like I said, this John Byrne was getting into talking heads and a lot of empty space, if you will, like I'm showing here. And then we see how people party. They float around. There's I'm sure there's drugs involved, and of course we have the lust. We have lust involved here. And not only do we have lust going on here, but when you're a soldier, you're a soldier. You're on call all the time. And now we're getting into the fact that Agent Red here, whatever his name is, like he is like a legend. He is a legend, and this is a young rookie. It's all coming back to me, right? And there's no time for love, Dr. Jones. No time for love because we got a mission to go on. And they go out, and it turns out that this rookie and all those rookie cops and stuff. Look at that. Shades of Starbrand, guys. Look at that. Shades of Starbrand. But anyway, we get to see more of this desolate world. We find out that these machines are making oxygen. You know, it's all world building. It's a very bad, bad planet. And we're here to see the plot. And, you know, old Red here, the legend, has to take on a big old monster. Not quite the thing, you know, not an Omega Man. And this is where I'm pretty sure I saw some recycled pages from OMAC. I don't know. Let's put these to the side. But basically, just to move on with this, not to go page for page, but Omega Red is actually secretly doing the thing where you're going to pick up the mantle. Everybody's going to think you're me because he ends up dying in this. And the rookie cop ends up being the new Red, you know, freelance agent there. But they fail to stop all the bad guys down here at the Antarctic where all these machines are for oxygen. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a recycled page too from that OMAC. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to get them side by side. And as our bad guys trying to stop Santos or whatever his name is and his minions and stuff from destroying him, he calls them halflings. They're all halflings. That's the name of his troop and his deformed people. But they have powers, right? And all this starts in the 90s with the Next Men. You'll see. You'll see. So anyway, there's torture and bad things going on, but basically Santos and them, they win. They escape. They end up blowing up, transporting back, and Santos will be the only one to survive, and he'll meet Aldous Hilltop, a senator in 1955. And then all of a sudden we have like this really strange ending here where, you know, you feel like this series could go on and on, but yes, Agent Red dies. The rookie hides his body, takes up his mantle, freaks everybody out, and he is secretly going to be Agent Red. And then that's it. That's all you hear about it. It jumps to 1955, the next time we see our bad guy, the person Santos, on top of all this, from 2112 to 1955. Well, what do we got here? Hey, Starbrain, OMAC, Nixman, Lab Rats, and Doom Patrol all had creative time travel stories. Yeah, he was into it. He was so into it. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that I love Doom Patrol, and I have several volumes of Doom Patrol. But the John Byrne stuff, I just had to get rid of, and whatever volume came out after that, those were pretty weak. Just could not handle it. And I never read Lab Rats. I see them in dollar bins. I might have to check it out. I heard this is the original pitch for Ravage 2099, This Strike versus the Synthesis. There was a little bit going on there with that. I'm not going to get into it, but basically this was a lot of John Byrne's, we'll just say that a lot of John Byrne's Dark Horse stuff was recycled ideas, rejected ideas like Babe, and, you know, things like that. But I'll mention those later on. You're late. You're not late. This is a Gonzo review, man. You're not going to miss anything. You're just going to hear me babble and have random thoughts while we do this here. Great to see you, Victor. You didn't miss much from Lab Rats Avoid. Yeah. So anyway, this is a zero issue, right? And it's also colored, right? And you'll see on the cover that it has a rip through it where the figures are in black and white, guys. Well, that's because Dark Horse Presents had the first 4 chapters of John Byrne's Next Men, and that's what's in the zero issue. And the zero issue is colored. If you know anything about Dark Horse Presents, a fantastic series that actually had its ups and downs and with quality and an anthology series. But we got the Mask, Concrete, Next Men. I always make the mistake of saying Sin City's first appearance, but it's not. But anyway, we got her. You know, it's so many great things and great characters and and fantastic creators came through it. It's in black and white, you know, to finish my thought here, right? So we have the zero issue, right? And basically that's why I didn't pull out my Dark Horse Presents. So look at that. Senator, good God. This is Senator out. Anyway, this is the prelude proper. What is his name? I just said it a minute ago. Hilltop, Aldous Hilltop. It comes back to me, but he's talking. You find out that the senator, uh, present time at the time, 1990-91, there he's complaining about the progress with the project that's been going on since about started in the I don't know 60s, 70s, and you got to understand this is 1990-91. And when I was reading this, a lot of this felt so familiar. And then as I got older and stuff, I was thinking of things like Stephen King's Firestarter that I saw through a movie. Eventually did read the book, but this touches on a lot of that parapsychology, para. Think the first 10 minutes of Ghostbusters and stuff like that, where they were studying ESP, the men that stare at goats and things. This is a lot what it feels like, and it brought into virtual reality. So basically, as you can see here, just to get to the gist of it, there's been a project that Aldous, Hilltop has been secretly doing here, where they've been taking young girls and they try to write it like they were taking girls that were knocked up at 13 and 14 and taking their babies. They needed young girls, but you kind of get the idea of like there's a little bit more sinister stuff going on, and they would Matrix style lay out these babies, and they would grow up in these little chambers and share a virtual reality with all the other people that they are experimenting on. And now the experiment is starting to come to an end for various reasons. And I'm laying it all out for you. This was a mystery as you go through it, but it's a lot of bitching. And then we have the government wanting to know where a lot of the secret funding is coming in. So there's a government agency called Control, FBI, more or less. And we get old Tony here, I think is her name. She's Bitch from J Street, because they were saying this bitch from J Street is investigating us. And she ends up becoming a handler and a liaison. When she gets to, I don't remember, the project or something, they show her where they've been growing some giant cows and stuff. That's where our money's going. That's what we're doing. We're trying to feed the people and make giant cows so we'll have more food and everything. And they end up attacking her. Meanwhile, we jump into the virtual reality, and God, I can't think of their names. I think this is Nathan, Bethany, maybe. I used to know this like the back of my hand, right? But anyway, they're lovers here, and they're talking about how weird things are getting here in the garden. Like I'm looking at the stars. They're in Eden. They all walk around. Food just appears when they want it. We get to see this world, and there's Jazz and Jasmine. This was a character that actually her design popped up before at DC. We'll just leave it at that, right? I don't want to get into the history and stuff, right? Oh God, Danny, Jasmine. Anyway, she has a big old boyfriend, right? So basically, they've all grown up together, and they call it the dance. So basically, everything is laid out. They find out that they're able to see things. Nathan's looking at the stars with trying to find them. Our boy here finds out that he's got super strength. Basically, it's like kind of like a latent prepubescent. They're trying not to be mutants here, but their powers are starting to form as they go through adolescence, if you will, right? Puberty and stuff, right? And as everything happens, we have super agility, we have super strength. Bethany here has she's immortal, not immortal. She's invulnerable. And then Nathan has super sight, and the little Danny here or whatever it is comes in. He's super fast. So what I've always noticed is that after John Byrne was Superman, I always felt like Superman leaked into his comics. So each one of the next men have one of Superman's powers. He took Superman, in my opinion, and just split his powers up amongst them. And so, yeah, this is just introducing everybody. But think about this life in virtual reality and stuff, right? So they have all their food. The weather's always great. They have clothes that just appear. They have shelter and everything. And what do? All they got to do is just dance and screw. That's it. Eat, screw, hang out, be with each other. And they start noticing that one of them kind of wakes up out of it, and he's gone. Like, where am I? And he comes into reality, and he's got this John Byrne high-tech stuff. It's not all shiny and stuff like he did at Marvel and everything. This stuff is primitive. And Jazz is freaking out, yelling for Bethany and Nathan because Jack, his name was Jack. Danny's the little dude. Jack is gone. And now we start finding out that all their friends had disappeared into the great beyond. Turns out they were all just waking up in the real world. And Danny's running around trying to see if Jack's name's been added to a tombstone. And then all of a sudden, Jazz just disappears. Well, it's because Jack is going around waking everybody up, and we're right there with them. They're in the harsh real world. They've gone from that great garden, that virtual reality of Eden, that I call it, and stuff. And now we're in this harsh reality. And John Byrne is showing that with this harsh artwork that matches the dirty, nasty reality. And when they start, taking everything off, they start noticing they're all bald except for Bethany. And when Jack touches her hair, like, you still have your hair, it cuts him. So what's going to happen is the real world is going to come in, right? Nathan, who's able to have like supervision, he's able to see far away and sees small things, microscopic vision, telescopic vision, ultralight, X-rays, everything like that. He's going to get really deformed black eyes. Bethany, who is invincible, invulnerable, listen to me, who is invulnerable. Everything about her is invulnerable. She can't cut her hair. She can't cut her nails. They become razor sharp. Her hair is like razor blades. If it naturally falls out, she can actually take it and probably like cut down a tree with it. But the other thing is that she can't tan, and then eventually she can't feel anything, right? So she and Nathan can't have sex and dance. Jack, on the other hand, becomes so powerful. It's like the world really is like Superman described it in the Justice League cartoon when he finally went after Darkseid at the end of the series properly. Well, the end of that series. Anyway, and said like the world is cardboard, right? So he gets really scared and doesn't want to touch Jazz. And Jazz has needs, guys. She has needs, right? And then Danny, who has super speed, he gets like these huge muscles in his legs and stuff. So the real world, for this to happen in the real world, their bodies are going to reflect that. Jack can't control his power. He's really freaking out. And of course, the FBI lady, Tony, finds them. And then they have to make their escape. We'll just leave it at that. But we have to have a cliffhanger where they think they're escaped. And then a bazooka comes out and blows them up. That's our cliffhanger, guys, leading into the series proper. Ooh, I got to switch these bags around. That's the wrong side. That should be a smooth side against your comics so they slide in, And now we are into the next men proper. Paolo's here. What's up, guys? Oh, here we go. Thank you. Next man was set in the near future, 1999. Correct. You are correct. Yes. Like I said, Gonzo review, guys. I'm just going by me. We're here. Next man is always in my to read list, and it's like to get read, and it's not like to get read anytime soon, regrettably. Well, it's all right. If you're a John Byrne fan, it's an interesting read. For everybody that's popping in, I want to be saying this over and over in the description. Hopefully, maybe it's there now or in the upload. I have the proper review where I talk about things like it's said in 1999, the proper review from 2020. The Gonzo review whole purpose is I just kind of throw out some books. We look at them together, and I'll see what I can read. I haven't read this in 4 years, but I probably read the entire series like about 5 times, right? But anyway, it's been a while. So good to see you, Paolo. Good to see you. Sorry, I'm just kind of in the zone. So as you see, I have 2 of these. I have no idea how I ended up with 2 of these, but this is the number 1 proper. And as you can see, they're doing little things here to make the book stand out on the stands. That'll soon go away. Oh, man, look at this advertisement on a Dark Horse comic, man. The Predator versus Batman crossover is coming, and that thing was fantastic, the one written by Dave Gibbons. Anyway, so now we have them properly. And as I was saying, right on the cover, Byrne is already starting to mess with how they look. Look at Nathan's eyes, already starting to change. Everything that's going on. So what is so cool, and I wish comics would do this if they had enough going on with them stuff, is that we get recaps. We get recaps to catch the reader up. We get recaps because it could be somebody's first issue. And this is, like I said, this is John Byrne, right? So we pick up on this. They make their escape. They're separated. They don't know anything about the real world, and there's bullets coming at them. And Bethany should have been dead and burned up, and she's walking out, and her clothes aren't invulnerable. Her clothes are burning off. She's running around naked. The bullets are bouncing off of her. So basically, to me, it's like when they came out, it's very, the Matrix did it very well when Neo woke up. It was almost like he was reborn coming out of that chamber and stuff. They're the physics of reality, the harshness of reality versus their virtual reality is one of the things that we play around with and stuff. And not the whole time we have Alice Hilltop, the senator. We got the plot going on and the talking going on, and we're seeing that this guy's like, just a piece of shit. They're making that clear. He's been influenced by somebody. Somebody's talking to him, and then running the charge. And of course, we gotta have the I don't know how to say this, but we gotta have the crooked looking the cops. You know what I mean? The cops have got to be sort of the bad guy, all the time. Come on now. And Aldous Hilltop goes ahead and takes out the guy bitching at him. So we're established that he's a killer, and to cover his tracks, he blows up the entire project of the Next Men. Okay, it's a cover up, folks. It's a cover up. They're going to blame and frame the Next Men probably. I think they call them terrorists or something. That's what I would do. But anyway, they get a hold of them and they're alive. Next Men Comics trading cards coming. Certificate. Yeah. So anyway, the Next Men end up taking up the cops. They don't understand what authority is or who the cops. They're sort of feral. This kind of sets up problems that are going to arise because there are murders that Jack will do in the real world. But anyway, we're just trying to get into the harshness of just trying to get out of the desert and get away. With the cops after him, Aldous Hilltop blowing all these things, blowing up everything. It's a cover up. And when you have super speed and you run that fast, bad things happen. His feet are blistered. He's having cramps because his muscles are growing. But this is what happens when you're a Next Man. You end up getting deformed. Remember 2112 and all the halflings, if you will? Because there is a way that anybody can become a Next Man. Anyway, a little old man picks up Danny after he's run so far he doesn't know where he's at. And it turns out that we're going to be into control. A government agency that is going to want to make the Next Men agents because they sort of already knew about them. Okay. So we're going to go fly through these first issues pretty quick here because it's just them over and over having bad things happen to them. That seems like what Byrne started doing, at least like on Alpha Flight and stuff. A lot of his writing, it went from, well, this happened because, and this led to that. This happened because of what happened before, to where he was just like, bad things are going to happen to you. That's our story. We get a bunch of the Next Men thrown in jail. They're captured by the police. They're getting blamed, I'm pretty sure, for that facility blowing up. Our FBI agents in the emergency room with another X-Men member. They're split up, and it's just like, oh no, they're in jail. What are we going to do? What are the Next Men going to do? And as you can see, we're seeing through the eyes of all the characters everything I've told you, all the ramifications of being able to do amazing things in the real world. Well, your body is going to have change. What is that going to be like? So he spends 4 issues of them on the lam at the same time having their powers mess up their bodies. And of course, we got to have a dance all night. There's got to be a strip club because the real world is super sleazy. And we get to see a little bit of what Nathan can do, where he can look through the building in order to find them clothes. And of course, he happens to find a pair of sunglasses that he steals. So there you go. A biker gang just happens to come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? They're near a biker bar and comes after Bethany. Because that's what they do. They'll see a woman and just decide to circle her and try to take her down. And then we get to Aldous Hilltop and his assistant or something. She plays into things quite a bit later on. But anyway, Aldous Hilltop, it's his big mystery. Who's he talking to? How's he getting away with this? This is a bad man, And then all of a sudden we find out this is Xanathos. This is the bad guy from 2112 living downstairs, and he's just half a man, So this makes me feel like, feed me, Seymour. Feed me. Yes, feed me. I'm doing quite a stream of consciousness thing here, guys. So, I'm going to have to fix some of these books. They're in the bags backward. Okay, what do we got here? All right, so we might be saving Palos some money here. So now in the third issue, where Jack is, just not understanding things. Jack seems to be the one that is actually morally having a problem with this, right? So the biker gang throws Bethany down on a pool table. Whatever will they do to her? What are they trying to do? They're all talking amongst themselves and what are they going to do with her? And it's what you think, because in the big bad world, this just happens left and right. And they come after her and she figures out what they're trying to do. And these are some murders that are going on. We've gone full red because colorists, used to use psychology, for the reader to indicate this is like a moment. This is pretty bad, right? So with her, she's, like I said, she's invulnerable. And with her invulnerable nails, she ends up just like ripping into them and stuff, right? And they try beating the hell out of her because, just got to have some gratuitous violence in there. With the bikers, that then she's just mad, just pissed her off. They can't hurt her. And then here we go, a la Wolverine, nails straight through the chest. And they're like, everybody's like, oh shit. So there's your Terminator moment, in my opinion, of like when the Terminator went into the biker bar and took the clothes. That's what it reminds me of. So we get to see more of what happens with Bethany's powers in this world building here. A guy grabs her by the hair to put her in her place, and he loses his fingers, a la Mad Max, the Road Warrior, little feral kid with his boomerang, So there you go, like, oh no, Oh man! So she rushes out, and of course, even in this world, the bikers know how to use chains. And they're going after. They're not going to give up on her, and they're going to have some fun with her because our, the bikers just keep pulling them out. They just happen to have a welding kit there, so they're going to weld her. Just like, let's see if she burns, So come on, man, this is. Yeah, some of the stuff I was like, oh no. And then we get some comic book action. Look at this, man. We have Action Man coming in with this little villain, because, all the bad guys have to have purple and green, and all the good guys are dressed in red and blue. That's how you know who they are. And it turns out Danny, our youngest of the next men, has just fallen in love with comic books. He's found Action Max, this starts a whole thing. Byrne is starting to lay out the long-term plan here because we end up seeing the comic book industry in this. But anyway, subplot, moving on. A lot of talking heads. That's the problem with this. With me, I know he's got it in the real world, but it is pages and pages of just talking heads and frustration with these characters. And they're just, oh man, they're just, so bad. So anyway, Jack wakes up. He doesn't know what a hospital is. He can't really control his strength. He's freaking out in this world, and he actually kills. All right, they're just murdering people left and right by accident. They're freaking out, and of course, the FBI agent is able to calm him down, and they're going to have to be on the lam again. How are the next men going to do this? Before they even get started, they're killing people and taking people out and doing whatever they have to do. And then, for some reason, we have a plane blow up with another senator on it. This is the vice president, guys, right? The vice president, and his plane has blown up. Is Aldous Hilltop, on top of that? What was the purpose of the next men? So there you go. I know we're going quick, but I think you get the point. A lot of talking in these, a lot of talking heads, a lot of talking, and then just enough to make it a comic book, What do we got here? I hate this scene. Ick. And then we have 90s Byrne. Comics should be for kids, but I want to do sleazy. He actually made a character called Sleaze in his Action Comics run with Big Barda, Mr. Miracle, and Superman, So anyway, let's get to issue number 4 here. Okay. And all of a sudden, oh my God, are we going to have a monster? Do we have monsters? We have bikers, we have crazy senators. We have self destruct uh, setups for secret layers where they're experimenting on people. And now all of a sudden we have these two with look at this. We have skulls and bones, by tons of them. Human skull and bones, and we have this creature. What is going on? Jazz now has a do rag. So Bethany's ripped her clothes up again. Oh no, what are we going to do? So anyway, we were like, they're trying to get a room. That's what we're trying to do. My buddy has just killed a lot of people in a hospital, and all hell's breaking loose around here. And can you just give us a room? So that just cracks me up. And of course, they have to be sleazy to get a room. What a world! What a world! Even you can't even can't even find a good guy not to be all greasy and stuff. And of course, he's got a hit on her. You know what I mean? Because like that's all anybody wants to do is just say you wanna, and they think it's going to work. Give me a break. Give me a break. So anyway, more Nathan, and we got the old man that helped Danny out. They're hog tying him. They're hog tying him. Yes, on him in a bed. Just blows my mind. They're hog tying him. They're not taking any chances. So the band's coming back together. The band is all coming back together by sheer coincidence. They all just happen to be, I guess, in the same hotel. Danny's got to get his 2 for 4 in. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want this dangerous woman to do anything else to us now that I got her tied up. But I'll make her talk. Yeah, shut her up. She's running her mouth. Shut her up, right? So we're at the dance all night, and it's not a strip club, folks. Look at this. They're out in Texas, I guess, is what I'm thinking. I don't know. But of course, they got to have square dancing. We got to have square dancing. You know what I mean? Because they do that left and right. But anyway, yeah, you got some redneck women coming up on them. Not even, and of course, they're not going to take any shit. I mean, as soon as anybody starts, they're going to grab you and throw you around, because we got to have a harsh, cruel world. And all of a sudden, she's going to give you a lift. Turns out she's a cop, off-duty cop, I think, is what's going on. And she takes her, I don't know, maybe she's a trucker. I don't know. Who gives a shit? But anyway, she gets there and we see destruction. Everything she's told her she can't prove because, like, it's practically World War III out here. They had to get this close to it before they saw it. They couldn't see this a few miles away. You know what I mean? So, yeah, she wants to know what's going on. She's got her handcuffed. I'm pretty sure she's an off-duty cop. And look who comes around the corner. Well, hey, Bethany. Bethany walks right up on her, just hanging out. And of course, she uses her hair and breaks the cuffs with a strand of her hair. We got more Aldous Hilltop, just like Mr. Innocent walking around. Nobody knows that he's got like Dr. Satan from, the Rob Zombie movie hanging out downstairs. And they're talking and they're plotting, and Aldous and Stannis is sitting there telling them, Hilltop, you ain't shit without me. Thanks to me, you went from senator. Now you're going to be a vice president, and we're going to get you up to president. That's pretty much what he's saying. Since 1955, I have steered your career. You were nothing without me. So the girls end up finding a sinkhole. This reminded me of they're just walking around and they just happen to walk up on a sinkhole. I mean, isn't it just amazing how all this coincidence happens? Maybe I could see them all meeting up at the hotel room because they're out in the desert. And how many hotels or motels are there? Yeah, but you walk up on World War III, a big building on fire. Like an oil rig has just gone off. And then all of a sudden your friend just comes out of the desert, out of the blue, and then you're walking through there and there's a sinkhole. Well, as they go down into the sinkhole and it's all dark, they find a tunnel, and it's got metal. It's man-made. It's a man-made tunnel. And Bethany's like, "Where are we?" Right? So we have shades of Gandalf, not Gandalf, of I guess Bilbo, if you will. And here we are, folks. We're finally getting to what was on the cover. Look at all that. It's like a heavy metal album from 1986. Look at all those bones and stuff, right? And they're actually shifting through them. We're like, look, this one's a baby. Hundreds and hundreds of babies, right? And all of a sudden, this creature comes out. Oh no, what are they going to do? And all of a sudden, right before you think it's going to attack him, it knows her name. He goes, it's you. Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. And she's like, that voice. I know that voice. This is David. And he's like, oh, Jasmine. Turns out this is another one of the next men. Okay. This is somebody that woke up from the virtual reality way before them. So if you put two and two together, you realize, they pretty much kill them and throw them down in there. They're not really supposed to survive. What is the purpose? What is the purpose? Well, it doesn't really matter because it was in a blurb of what the whole project was really supposed to be about. No big deal. It ends up being no big deal because they end up swerving around after these first 6 issues. The next man is told in story arcs, and it moves. One story doesn't really have too much to do with the other, except for the seeds that were planted in the couple of the first panels of the first 2-3 issues and stuff. Right, the comic books, things like that, the murders. What's going on. So we get to go back and learn a little bit about Jasmine and David, right? We get a little flashback already, a little flashback in number 5, 1992 of John Byrne's Next Man. Death, like birth, is a secret of nature. Look out below. So here's Jazz, full head of hair. They're just having fun, and she's just swinging on ropes, and they're Blue Lagooning it, man. Blue Lagooning it. She and Jack are just out there in paradise, and they're still going at it. And then all of a sudden, here comes David. Well, I certainly hope I'm not interrupting anything. Cock blocking left and right in this comic. Cock blocking left and right. People disappearing, people walking up on you. And there's a little rivalry here, right? And more talking amongst the next men about what's going on. And they're kind of like suspecting, Jack's kind of suspecting that like things are just a little too good. So we get David just, I guess he's, I don't know, hitting on her or something, right? And he tries to dance with her, if you will. She's like, oh no. The sophomoric soap opera stuff that pops up in this, you can tell John Byrne grew up watching, like, I don't know, soap operas like Dark Shadows and stuff, maybe a little touch of Avengers and stuff, right? But there's a lot of soap opera stuff in this, right? And she turns David down and whatnot. And now here David is in the real world, whatever his powers were, this is what he became. This is what he was, and he survived. He was supposed to have been killed, but he's been living down there amongst the bones, digging up bones. So we're going to move forward because there's a lot going on, and we have the snake in Eden. I remember this now, right? So where David is just all up on, on a bunch of things and just all frustrated, and somebody's got to say something. He tells Jack to get his paws off of him, and he's had enough, so he goes and punches David, beats the shit out of him. Jazz tries to calm him down, and he goes, you see, I told you, this guy just thinks with his fist. He's a moron. You deserve somebody more like me. So as he's, holding on and his face is all busted and stuff, he starts fading, and they're like, this is their death. And she's like, oh no. So here we are back on the, the recycled artwork. And so, yeah, we're supposed to feel bad for Jasmine, but we're up on David now, and it doesn't really matter because you're not going to see David more. He's just letting them know how he woke up. And when he woke up, they had taken bits and pieces of him to test flesh, almost like it almost reminds you of alien abduction stories you've heard. And then they killed him by throwing out an acid attack on him and gas, and he survived. And so he's been roaming around the town, becoming like a chupacabra legend, still busting up people. All the characters we've seen in town, they're just out in the middle of the desert screwing on a blanket for some reason. There's a hotel down the road. We've already seen it, guys. So, yeah, he's just been running around. But like I said, it doesn't matter. You're not going to see David after this issue, I'm pretty sure. They got to have somebody to give you exposition to see how bad it is. And there's the explosion again. So it's all tying together. John Byrne's playing with perceptions. And of course, we got to have Aldous Nova being like, what are you talking about, Control? You're wanting to fund these people? And you start finding out that the next men have been hired by the government. There we go. Okay, there we go. All that issue, running around and finding out what happened and how they woke up. The first 5 issues could have been told like in 2, in my opinion. just to kind of get to it. But it's pacing, it's pacing. There's a story here to tell. You're in the long run. This is John Byrne. What do we got here? Monsters, bikers, crazy senators. Oh my. Yes. Yes. Everything. Everything's in there, and I'm sure I saw a kitchen sink. So much is happening. Yes. Google user. I wonder if, yeah. Oh my God. Dark Shadows melodrama makes so much more sense for this nonsense. Let me read that again, folks. Oh my God. Dark Shadows melodrama makes so much sense for this nonsense. Yeah. Yeah. Well, but you see what's coming, because that stuff takes a back seat, because this issue I found extremely interesting. Like I said, I want the 2112 stuff, right? So we get to issue number 6. We get a break between our next story with the next man in the next chapter of their life. You're like, here we go. We are, you had this expectation of like, oh shit, it's going down after this, right? So we start out with issue number 6, and you see the helicopter, and you see all the bodies again, more dead bodies out in the snow in the Antarctic, right? And I'm not real sure when 2112 came out, so I'm assuming it had already come out with this issue, right? So basically, we're in the story so far. We're starting all over with the recap. Story and art by John Byrne, Matt Webb. And then we have, like, do you like The Thing? Did you like the 1982 movie The Thing? This I love The Thing, and this is exactly what I thought, because I was like, when I realized they're in the Antarctic. Dominoes is the name of this chapter. Historian Stephen said is a nightmare. History, Stephen said, is a nightmare from which I am trying to awake. James Joyce Ulysses, 1922. John Byrne's been putting quotes through the whole series, right? So there's no sound effects here, but we have everybody kind of in the position of something happening, and we got one guy going, "What the hell is that?" as coffee spills in his face. So anyway, apparently this scientific team, and some of these characters pop up. This is the guy that Aldous Hilltop shot, I think, out of the blue, that was running the X-Men project. Who knows, right? But all these people, since they witnessed this, they run out there and they find all these dead bodies in the yellow snow. All right, it's not yellow snow, guys. It's a spotlight. But just remember, okay, Frank Zappa wrote a whole song warning you not to eat that yellow snow. Yeah, but there's hundreds of them. There's like 100 bodies out there they found, right? And they come over here and they're like, oh my God, they're in different forms of composition and they're burnt. And then they find this one because it's, it's got metal on it. It's out there, freaking out like it's, Anakin Skywalker after getting on the wrong side of Obi-Wan Kenobi there. He reaches out and Xanathos grabs a guy and he's like, he's alive. And they're like, Carter, oh no. And immediately he turns into a skeleton. Xanathos, whatever, has nulled his life force. And they kick on him. One guy tries to stop him, and he just gets his leg ripped off, for his troubles there. And he's like, all of a sudden, he starts yelling, it worked. It was a gamble, and it worked. So our bad guy has escaped to the past, but we're going to find out that he had a reason he wanted to go back to the past, right? I'm going to go ahead and give you a hint. If you read Starbrand number 19, you're going to already know what John Byrne was going to do with this, okay? Messed him with time travel again. Oh, here we go. I expected the yellow snow joke. Well, I'm glad I did not disappoint. So we're going to move ahead because we get a lot of talking. We go through the 50s. We go through the 60s with what's going on with this project and how Senator Aldous Hilltop is just going up. And our little vampire from the future, they literally have him in a crate, moving him around, trying to keep him alive. Yes, I'm not joking. All right. He's a monster, guys, in the literal sense of the term, right? And there was a scientist that took off and went to Russia. Okay, that's what I'm starting to remember a little bit more of the plot now, right? So we get newsreels of how Hilltop is just becoming the man, and his image is just so perfect, and he's on all the TV shows and stuff, right? This guy's going to be president one day with the way things are going. And then we have to have the sleazy stuff where we have the sleazy, overweight, bourbon drinking, cigar smoking rich dude. He's got his hose. he's got his hoes in those hotel rooms, and he's talking, and turns out she's not so much a hoe. This is a high class, this is a high class up there affair going on. Like, we just won't have to tell anybody. And then we get to see the early days of the project, of the Next Men project, what's going on as he does smoke rings, exposition, talking heads, people pissed off over the years. What the hell are you doing? This is where they mentioned somebody else's take. I think this is the guy. I think that's the Russian. The guys. That's the scientist that took off to Russia, and they're going to send the Next Men after him. But anyway, we got side projects going on. Now we have giant pigs. They had cows before, and they're talking about what's wrong with the project, and they're trying to figure out how to fix the projects and fix these Next Men and everything like that. And they decide that they need to go with younger and younger girls having babies is what they need to do. And of course, Santa here, Satan Sanathos here, has decided to tell him that you will be remembered in the future there, Aldous Hilltop. You just trust me. I know. Yeah, so we have our next issue, and you get answered what happened at the end of 2112. Where did they go? What was the point? John Byrne is setting up a time loop, if you will, right? So we get to issue 7, and this is where you think, here we are. We are here. This is the Next Men we've been waiting on. Look at this, right? They are sporting. Their hair has grown back. They have colorful costumes. Jack has an exoskeleton, man. He's got to be in control. They've been training. Bethany's back here. Look at that. And we've got our best, not Cyclops version going on here because, he's got high-tech goggles to help with those big black eyes with all his vision powers. You need help with vision powers. Got to do it. So you're thinking this is where we're going to get our superhero story. This is it. We're done. We're ready. Here we go. What we got here? The physics of the leg rip. Exactly. Yeah, the brutality there. I'm not familiar enough with Byrne's work. I need to experience this insanity. Good grief. I don't know if that's a bot or not, guys. I apologize if you're not, but yeah, okay. I've never seen you pop up, but you're hilarious. So anyway, here we are, right? This is the promotional poster they put out for the Next Men. This is what everybody was expecting. I have the promotional poster in my room there, right? So we come in and, we find out it's 6 months later after the, after the Next Men left the Greenery. That's what their virtual reality is called, the Greenery. And oh no, Joe Shuster apparently passed away in 1992, 1914 to 1992. Oh my. So anyway, as a little joke, John Byrne's got a sense of humor. 6 months are supposed to go by. Maybe this book was delayed. It was the 90s. That did happen. Of course, we had that interlude between Next Men stories and arcs, if you will. And how does this one open up? Did I miss much? And it says quite a few. So of course, thanks to Tony being there, we have to have somebody to have it explained to them what's been going on. That's why Doctor Who has always has an assistant, so he can explain things for the people watching to get caught up with what's going on. So basically, we go into like this guy can do 70 tons. Old Jack there can do 70 tons, but he can't control his power. So we're going to we put him in an exoskeleton, right? And they talk about how, what about them killing all those people back there and their emotional well-being and how they are still trying to adapt to the humans. You got to have tension. There's still problems. They talk about Jack and how they toughened up his feet by making him run in sand. You know what I mean? And he seems to be like, Jack's problem, though, is that instead of really adapting to the real world, he's fallen into the curse of those damn comic books. He spends a lot of too much time reading those comic books, and they've tested up on how, they've tried to kill Bethany over and over, trying to see just how invulnerable she is. Not even a scratch. And then the temperature readout, they told her she's sunbathing in a hot room. Turns out it's minus 260 Celsius, so they're like, she doesn't even feel it. So my question is how could she be having a drink if it's negative 260 Celsius? How is she able to not notice that, What is she really drinking, guys? So cracks me up. So anyway, they're talking, and then here we go. This is where I started catching on. Like I said before, I was starting to get that 70s parapsychology feel, or whatever they called it back then, about the ESP and the cards and that nonsense. So anyway, they catch the readers up with their danger room training because they're not the X-Men. They're John Byrne's next men. They're all talking. Everybody they're all cleaned up. They're all happy, even though they're still in this, they get names. The little kid wants to give them names. This happened in DP7, Mark Grunwald's DP7. Scuzz wanted everybody to have names, and he got mad because all the people on the lam with him with their powers would not use their names. But anyway, oh yeah, Danny wants to be Sprint, and Jack wants to be Brawn and Bounce and Scanner and Hardbody. I'm like, how can you not have people thinking about Cyclops when you do this and you're John Byrne? They're not the next men. Anyway, they're just kind of humoring him. What do we got here? Hey guys, Dr. Giggles is coming. Look at that, Dr. Giggles. I'm pretty sure they made that into a movie. They made Time Cop. They made Barbed Wire. Why not? Dr. Giggles, guys. So anyway, more subplots, and we're getting caught up in Russia. Now, one of the scientists took off from the Next Men project, or whatever they call it, went to Russia, and now, thanks to spy satellites, somehow you remember the lab got blown up that the Next Men were grown in. Well, apparently the one in Russia, it's been growing. Like the Russians must be ahead of us. The Berlin Wall has fell. Somebody's already pointed out that this is in the future, 1999. So we're possibly further in 1999 by this time, or the year 2000. Who knows? And the wall has come down. So I'm pretty sure the Berlin Wall coming down and the USSR falling in 89. I'm sure that plays into it. But they're talking about how, this seems to be growing at an exponential rate. And it's a building. So basically, all the people freaking out decide that they're going to send the Next Men on their first mission. Is to see what the Russian scientists have been doing. And of course, you got to remember there's Aldous Hilltop with his stuff going on. Target is prime. Proceed with step 5 with whatever is going on. The plan continues. Now, this gets to be interesting. I may have already passed it up. Yeah, this is number 1. But I'm not going to go over these. But there's a backup feature that starts popping up with M4. Okay. Mark IV, whatever you want to call him. But this is that lady that was getting really frustrated with Aldous Hilltop a couple issues back, 6-7 months ago by now in this series. And she just happens to be driving down the road, and by coincidence, she was having an affair with Aldous Hilltop, I think, or something's going on. She got used and abused. Yeah, there's Aldous Hilltop. She's all naked again. You notice how only the bad guys can get laid without being bothered? You notice that? Anyway, so she's going to kill Aldous Hilltop, right? She's had it with him. She's been used and abused by him. And so what is she going to do? She's going to pick up a lamp and pop him in his sleep, and she changes her mind. Guys, I don't know if John Byrne was going for irony right there, but she could have just ended this whole series right there. You know what I mean? The bad guy could have just been took out right there. She leaves in the snow. Okay. This has shades of a John Byrne story where Lex Luthor stops in at a diner and messes with a waitress, messes with her head, but in the snow and her driving off, and, she's still leaking, if you will, not to be crude, but she ends up just happened by coincidence, runs into this body, and he has a shirt that says MIV on it, right? So I'd be sitting there thinking, what college is that? So we start having a backup feature subplot with Mark IV that you're just sort of like, what? And he ends up being like a shapeshifter. He has no belly button. What could he be? But anyway, it all leads up to a moment towards the end of the series. And it didn't feel like it went anywhere, right? So now, like I said, we think we're getting our Next Men adventure, right? We're getting our big adventure. It's finally happening. We're going to see some action. We're going to get some, they're going to make enemies and stuff. So they go to Russia. They get there, Here's John Byrne back in form with that, with the technology drawn by John Byrne that we know. Here we go. We were very happy. They're getting fancy on us with all the ends on the corner there. This thing is sticking out on the stands in your comic book shop because it was direct market only. And we get Peril Part Two. You don't live in a world all alone. Your brothers are here too. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I do not like this. And that's what I was actually starting to think with this series. I kind of remember that. I had read and reread stuff around issue 16 or 17. I had gone back and read it all the way through. Like, is this going to get better? So I mean, I'm saying it's its own thing. But there was expectations, and the expectations may have killed the series for me. As I'm thinking, I remember those feelings if I didn't have the words. So anyway, they're all getting briefed, a la like military style on the on their not shield helicopter here. So but because they're going on their first mission, and they're being caught up about how like there was a scientist that took off in Russia. We don't know what's in there, and you're like, here we go, here we go. Everything's going to be cool. Tony is their handler. Tony is right there with them because they know we're in trust her in this mad world. And you almost forget that the next men are still new to this world. They're just 6 months into the real world. So here we go. They're watching them. Everything's going cool. Everything's smooth. And then they're like, they end up there. And when they get there, they're like, it looks like a damn battlefield. So supposedly people have already tried to get into it. Maybe the Russian government to try to get into it. And all their stuff right there has been destroyed. It looks like a war zone. What are we going to do? So anyway, all of a sudden, some flesh-covered feathers appear. And they slice through their liaison here. And Bethany's like, I'm going into action. And she has to take off her, top. And she's going to fight whatever creature that was, whatever harpy that was that came down. It's very Tolkien feeling if you didn't know any better. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, right in front of them, this building ends up being like a giant transformer moving around. And they're like, oh, hell. And they're all captured. It actually boxes them all up and seals them up in separate boxes. Danny, of course, was too young to go on a mission with them. He ends up running away. Let's just put it that way. I got to get out of here. And our backup feature of Mark Ivy is that she's trying to figure out who he is, what's going on with him, what am I going to do? And like I said, it's all tied to Aldous Hilltop. And of course, we have to see her just humiliated with him again in flashback as her memories go. And we get a gratuitous picture of, Mark Ivy there, So there you go. So I'm like, what is going on? What is going to happen? And then this is also where I thought, okay, I got faith in it. Things are happening. They've been captured, right? And I'm like, oh no, they've killed Nathan. No, guys, John Byrne snuck this on there, right? Because this is the real world, right? This is not a melodramatic death. This is a melodramatic, they're having sex, right? That's her O face. John Byrne put an O face on a cover in 1992, guys. I think we're in 92 by now. Yeah, an O face, guys. Okay, so yeah. So let's just leave that there for a minute. Knockoff Cyclops never impressed me. Hey, I'm no bot. This is all over the place. Exactly. That's why you hung in there. I do appreciate the 90s art transition from the 80s to the 2000s. We don't need to see Hilltop's body and the full frontal. Yes. So yeah, there's a lot going on in the comics, and this is still better than a lot of comics in the last few years, in my opinion. At least there are, traditional subplots going on, government agencies, time travel. It's all in there, but it's the execution. A lot of the stuff is anticlimactic, unlike this cover. So anyway, look at this, guys. We're back in the greenery again. We get caught up, in the front cover. We know what's going on here. But anyway, they actually did train as soldiers in the greenery, apparently, all of a sudden, right? It wasn't just a paradise. And these little flashbacks to the greenery ends up playing into into the story, because now you realize that maybe these next men are supposed to be ultimate weapons of war or something, right? And they're saving little kids, but these enemies come up. They don't know they're training. They don't know they're having fun. They think they're really in danger. So they actually have some flashbacks of what's going on. And all of a sudden they wake up in the dark, and we have Nathan and Nathan and Jazz in one room, and they're being watched on infrared cameras without them knowing it. But Nathan can see because, his eyes. And then they're talking, and they're talking about the last 6 months. So I want you to picture this, guys, right? You're out in Russia. You've just seen some amazing things. You're out in the snow. You see a building move and capture you. You've only been in the real world for 6 months. Everything you knew is a lie. So you're sitting in the dark with your friend, separated. You're both separated from your lovers, and you want to talk about your relationships and how they're affected. Bethany's cold as can be, Nathan says, because she can't feel anything, and she's afraid of hurting me. And Jazz is like, I got the same thing with Jack. He thinks I'm so fragile and stuff, and I got needs, Nathan. I got needs, right? So this was actually pretty smart of John Byrne to at least set this up. Um, you know, the way the relationships are, Jack and Bethany should be together because he's super strong and she's invulnerable. And the other two that are, just soft little, flesh buckets or, blood buckets walking around and stuff. Well, they can't take it. They can't take it. They're captured. They're in the dark. And how does she rationalize it? I'm thinking she rationalized it like, we could die in here. This could be it. And I don't want to die horny, so I don't want to be one to judge. Maybe we all would probably face imminent doom different. I mean, there's a time where I'd be like, yeah, that's how I'd want to go out. Who knows, right? But Byrne decides to do more storytelling, and we get to see them undress and offer themselves to each other and feel their way around, I guess, and stuff because they're in the dark. It's all in silhouette and everything, and it turns out they're being watched by the bad guys the whole time. And what does he say? Fascinating, right? So we get the Russian next men here. They're fascinating, and these guys have their shit together, right? So yeah, we got a lot of like messed up stuff. Okay, guys, we're gonna have to take a second here. I have a cat that wants to be petted. Yep, this is Shiva. Lester's running around somewhere. Go on. Yeah, she was clawing my leg, wanting to be picked up. All right, guys. So anyway, but these were fascinating. I was like, finally, Byrne's got some great designs here. We're going somewhere, with these characters. And of course, still not the X-Men, even though we got a guy now in a wheelchair, a futuristic wheelchair. And he's an ex-hippie. We got a bald-headed Jerry Garcia there leading the team. They're all having, everybody's got something to say, except for this little guy here. He's the only one that does not get acknowledged by this man while they're talking to him. And I think they're calling him father and stuff. Now, you end up finding out one of the things that this guy did, who was with the original project in America, and he came to Russia, he ended up impregnating the 13-year-old girls himself, if I do believe right, and stuff. And apparently that was the trick. It was his DNA, right? So they're all back in America. They're like, the next men have been they've been captured and things, our satellite readings are getting weird and things may not be as we've seen them. What are we ever going to do? And then they find out that Danny has disappeared and he's trying to find his mother. They've tracked him down to where he's going to Florida and he's trying to find his mother who doesn't know he's alive. And then of course we have more, more Mark IV, Mark IV running around asking for help, having flashbacks, trying to remember stuff. He can't remember everything. But basically, we find out that he sees a picture of her father, her dead father, if I remember right, and his father's back. He's able to shapeshift. He's a skin. Yeah, he's a shapeshifter, guys. He's a skinwalker, whatever you want to call him and stuff, right? So anyway, issue number 10. Here we are. Danny finds his mother, and he's got a little sister. Look at this. Right on the cover, man. We're going to do this. So anyway, what happens? What is going to happen? Now I'm realizing we are more uh, soap opera than we are comic book, and that's the next men. I'm starting to realize. Um, so here he is. He's practically running across America, and he's hitchhiking, and he's got high tech goggles to help him out. He finds some old man that's going to take him around on a school bus. And he finds out that the guy's like, "You're loopy." He takes off. So the kid is just running. The government's trying to find Danny. They're worried about him in Russia. And of course, we got to have some sleaze here, right? We got this woman. Who is this woman who's showing the back of her head? She's in a hotel with a dude, right? I'm kind of wondering if it's kind of funny because like the caption here over here where they're in the hotel room says it's a not a hotel room, it's the house. It's a house, excuse me. He goes, we might just find ourselves in the losing side of a species war. And here we go, man. We've got like we got some greasy, sleazy people here, just sitting there smoking in bed, talking shit. The cat's trying to get in. This woman comes out and she kicks the bed. The daughter's having she has to, it's shades of Rorschach, guys. The she won't let her daughter out to use the bathroom. She's about to piss herself. She's screaming, and she smacks her around for bothering her while she's getting hers. You'll get yourn. Throws her into the bathroom. A lot of child stuff going on. And the guy's like, "Listen, I'm out of here. Too much drama going on." And the girl flips him off, punches him in the nuts. So he retaliates, right? I guess that's what happens when you get a long-haired hairband guy. You know what I'm saying? Okay, and he's and the just to get the kick in the nuts in here because John Byrne's books, women are usually all victims of some sort. You're an okay laid kid, but you're a fucking Looney Tune, pretty much is what he's telling her, and she's all alone again. She's all alone again, right? So Danny runs up, not knowing all this, finds her, thinks he's like, all right, thinks that she's going to be so happy to see him. She's already like all smacked up from that dude with a big bruise on her face. And the kid is like, "Are you married, Alan Collie?" She's like, "Yeah." He grabs her and says, "Mom." And we find out that Aldous now he's like tying up the hookers and stuff, right? We got to have some more of this. And John Byrne is doing his best with fashion. But we got more talking heads. This girl's like, "Oh, come on. They told me you died, Danny," and everything like that. And she ends up being a sleaze and has all these, I don't know. Basically, this is just Danny's better off without her. I'm pretty sure she's going to like reject him. And then, but basically, what ends up finding out is Danny finds out that Aldous Hilltop is his dad. Okay, that's the whole deal. She was paid to get knocked up, and she was told that he died and everything. Big conspiracy, big cover up. But now we're back. We're back, right? And here's shades of Storm in the Savage Land, guys. If you go back, wait, was it Savage Land? No, shades of Storm in the Hellfire Club. If you know your X-Men stories, but it's still not the X-Men. But of course, Tony, John Byrne did a lot of very bad things to Tony, even into the IDW years of this. So I just don't get that. There's a lot of stuff I just don't get. She's being tortured for information. And we get more Mark IV, okay, that will pay off later on, right? So then we get to issue 12. Are we finally going to see some action? Are we going to see a fight? Is Jack going to just finally be able to take off and use his powers, guys? I don't know. Let's look and see. Yeah, nope, he's cowering in the back. Stay away from me. I'll hurt you. I'll kill you. Don't touch me. So he is traumatized. He's already killed people. He has great remorse for it. It messed him up. And now he's cowering in a corner. And I'm just sort of like, yeah. So, Byrne doing the unexpected and stuff, right? Turning the tables on us. And then after you've seen Bethany sit here and console him, you kind of wonder, like, are these two going to go at it and stuff? Because, this is ended up being a lustable book. We got Aldous Hilltop with BDSM and bustiers and hookers and knocking up young girls so they can be experiment on the babies. And now we got these two over here. But no, they have morals. They're not going to do it. They're not going to cheat. But they're also interrupted, so it doesn't matter. first time we have an interruption where it's not a cock block, guys. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. They're going to escape. Nothing happens. Bethany went after him to try to escape with her claws, not Wolverine. And he's fine, and he's able to like kick Bethany's ass. These next men are of Russia are superior. Jack tries to jump up finally, and he's like, "Oh man, I get to cut loose. I finally get to try to hurt something." And no, nothing. Right? They finally get to cut loose, and they just get their asses kicked. First fight, not even a fight. And he's all bruised and battered and stuff, right? And now he's just getting tossed around and, you know, pretty much tortured. Yeah, a lot of brutality in this, right? More talking heads, Aldous Hilltop, government stuff. Danny finding out that, you know, his mom's not, you know, not a nice person. His new sister's wanting to talk to him a little bit and wants to hear about Action Max and superheroes. And we get back to Tony being tortured again for information. So let's just get on to it here, all right? So all of a sudden, this one that has not been acknowledged crawls in there, and Nathan is able to see him, and they're able to capture him. And I think they were able to escape, or they know that he's checking on him and looking at him. I'm trying to get to the point here, right? So a bunch of stuff's going on, no big deal. Mark IV is now in here proper with the next man. It's merged into the subplot where the police are trying to capture Mike Ivy, and he's able to shapeshift to get away as one of the SWAT team after him. And we leave it at that. It's still in Russia. And I think we're finally at the end of this story that's been one anticlimactic bullshit after the other. So, like I said, expectations are, you know, horrible. But anyway, the Russian tower is not what it seems, right? Nathan is able to get them out. He's able to see through what can only be said to be illusions. And he's telling Jazz to not trust her eyes, so he blinds her to walk around. The government's coming in, and they can't find the tower anymore. Everybody's talking, but it's all unraveling. Everybody is finding each other again. Nobody, I don't know if they know they've slept together or not, right? But all of a sudden, Nathan has figured it out because he's got the sight and the vision. It turns out, if I do believe, I remember right, that Allah, like, there was a Avengers story in the Silver Age, and there was a JLA story in the Silver Age where a little kid, there was a World War III, and a little kid was able to project an illusion of like a 1950s America. Well, it turns out that this little mutated person here, that's his father, and his father is disgusting and at the end of his life and lives in filth. So he projects all of those creatures that you saw. He projects as an illusion that tower. That's why it was moving and stuff, right? And it turns out it's all just pathetic. And he's able to bring them back, though, at a at a moment's notice to defend himself, right? But yeah, pretty much he's able to like alter sort of perceptions and reality and stuff, right? So yeah, they saw it for just a minute there, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, you see things as they truly are. And I think that's a theme where John Byrne was trying to be a bit of a writer. He was telling the readers through readers, you need to see things as they are. This is the real world. It's not going to be a superhero story. Also, where they live in the greenery and they're in the real world, he's telling them you got to see the world as it truly is. Let go of the greenery. So this is like the X-Men, next men coming in. And like I said, we get some images, and some are more disturbing than the others about how they're going younger and younger with the girls to get, for this Next Men project and stuff. So we get caught up with what happened in Russia, what the difference was, and how the kid ended up messing with him. The old man never knew that his kid was running around beside of him, And the reader doesn't know that that's his dad until like one of the last panels. So he tells them to get out. The rocket ship takes off with them. It's probably an illusion. But the kid casts such a good illusion, they don't know where he's at. And you never see them again. That's it. That's the last part of it. And then we have Mark Ivy and Aldis's little, whatever she was to him, taken off. And now she's a blonde. Nobody's going to recognize her now, So there we go. Mark Ivy and all of that. So that's the first 12 issues, guys. And we can go on because, like I said, the next issue, I'm going to go get those. You'll just give me a second here. So, guys, we're moving right along. I kind of hope you like this format. You're seeing the art, seeing the book. I'm just talking my way through it. You can go back and forth, but as you can kind of see, I was a little bit disenchanted with them. Let me get this out of the way. So the next couple of issues here are going to be leading up to the next man, and we're going to be moving along here, right? Because basically, guess what happens, guys? They found out. Okay, Jack found out that they slept together. So what are the ramifications of when, the people that you love the most and know the most and enter this world together, when they betray you? So she's traumatized for being tortured. They're getting famous and everything like that. They're trying to bring her back. They're just talking heads, do the job. Here's how I found Tony. Here's Tony's origin and everything that she did, and she was married. Aldous Hilltop doing more and more stuff to be evil. But now Xanathos has grown legs. He's able to walk around. Okay. Lieutenant Dan has legs, guys. We get cowboys and cowgirls and sci-fi stuff, and another time travel event takes place. And we get another, meteor crash is what they're going to be calling it and stuff. But what is this? Who is this from the future? It's Agent Red. I guess the kid that becomes Agent Red, I do believe, from 2112. So I'm going to have another subplot. And then all of a sudden, Jack has found out that they slept together in Russia. He slept with his girlfriend. He is mad. He is pissed. She asked Jazz what really happened. She's yes, and everybody is crying. Everybody is fighting. The next men are falling apart. They're just falling apart, and he's going to kill him. He's going to kill him. And then all of a sudden, you find out that there's a code word to make Jack pass out. They implanted hypnosis or something on him in case he ever flipped out like this, or maybe they hit him with a dart. Who the fuck knows? But anyway, that's what that's all about. Pretty much, it was just all of them finding out, finding out that they slept together, the fallout, and they find out that Danny's missing, and he's on his way to New York because he wants to go find Action Man from the comic book. And the address, I guess, in the comic book of the comic book company is New York, And I think they're called Dynamic Comics or something. I don't know. So, guys, the next book you're going to see, I have 3 of them, which I had 2 by accident. Then I found 1 in the dollar box. But this is significant. This is significant because 20 years after the fact or more, I think it was more. This came out in 92, 93 or something, I think. And sometime in the last 5 or 6 years. So that's closer to 30 years. Yeah, 1993, we find out that somewhere in this, I think this is the one, there's a poster, maybe it was in the other one. But anyway, there's a poster of Hellboy in the background that people are trying to say is the first appearance of Hellboy. It's not. I think it's number 10. Let me go back and look. Well, it's over there. Anyway, there's a little poster in one of those issues with Hellboy in it. But we have Danny and his sister in New York. He's having nightmares. They're making the way up there. They're trying to find Action Man, and of course there's people grabbing them on the road, because it's a dangerous world out there. They have to fight for themselves, and they're making fun of the kid. We got all the drama going on back at Control, where the next men have all found out that they all betrayed each other, more or less, beat the shit out of each other. Bethany doesn't want to talk to Nathan because she's not going to take it. So yeah, soap opera, guys. And we come to find out that she is pale. She no longer can tan. And she has been putting on makeup to have flesh color. Her body is changing. 2-page spread of New York. It's got to be dirty and nasty, like Steve Gerber writing in the New York in the 70s. And they find the home of Dollar Comics, the home of Action Man, where they're going to find out that Action Man isn't real and that the scummy comic book publisher needs something to sell. So they're going to turn around and like use the next men as marketable heroes, doing a comic book on them, and they're real life superheroes. That's what all of this goes to, right? So I don't know if John Byrne is really saying something about the comic book industry here, but there you go. And of course, let's not forget about Mark Ivy. We got to give him 2 pages of them just floating around, traveling around, trying to do something. All right. Now, this was an interesting cover, if you're still with me, guys. All right. Oh, what we got here? Victor Shade. Let's look at this here. Google user. Let me get up here. Is this going to let me go back? That's not letting me go back. So we'll start here. Victor Shade, the amount of verbiage in this comic would make Chris Claremont blush, which is why we're going quick. It's talking heads. It's a moment here and there. I can't figure out if John Byrne was losing interest or if he thought he was being clever. They're low key, a psyche protagonist forced from their world. The sheer amount of abuse in this. Yes, yes. Yeah, so you get the point, right? Now, I found this interesting because after all the jokes, they were making clear at the time that this is not called The Next Man. It's John Byrne's Next Man. So they're kind of saying what they can about the X-Men. They even have, a little note there, make sure that something, and they put X in parentheses. We got issue 7 here, the little notes and everything. So that was kind of cool to have the photography there, right? So anyway, Danny is in New York. Let's see what's going on. There's Action Man. Danny is in New York. I got to go back to that number 10 there, right? At some point here in a minute. But he meets Sandy. Sandy is going to play a huge part in this for the next one of the story arcs coming up pretty soon, right? She works at Dollar Comics. She has been hired to more or less take care of Danny. And we're also going to find out something, how anybody can become a next man, thanks to Sandy kind of being a little bit of a perv with Danny. She's small in stature, if you will. I don't know if she's a dwarf or what's going on. Danny's yelling at her. They're all paid up. She accidentally walks in on Danny naked and stuff. So just to get to the point, as they're whining and dining Danny to get his friends up there so they can become real life superheroes. They all have powers. We have a short film with Danny here where, he gets to be Speed Boy. He's going to have his own comic. He runs around. So now the next men are public. They're public because of this. They think they're going to go places. Sandy breaks up with what I think is her Ralph or ex-boyfriend or something. Who knows? But anyway, melodrama, more melodrama with the next men. They find them. Control finds them. And they decide, hey, yeah, let's do this. They'll make them seem less dangerous if we make them, public figures. We'll give them an image of heroes and have a comic book of them. More Mark Ivy stuff. Not very interesting stuff, right? So now the next men are going to be in a comic book. Their public are now going to know about them. They're going to be famous. And what do? Byrne turns around. We are so far from being a superhero book that he dresses them up as superheroes on the front cover. Okay. We now have the next men in their gear, right? And let me tell you something, man. I've never seen something more Psylocke than Jazz here. BDSM. Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. Still not Cyclops, though, guys. So anyway, what's going on here? No, you've been fooled again. You have been fooled again. If you picked up this book thinking you were going to get superheroes, turns out it's a photo shoot. It's all fake. It's there's scenery. This is actually the cover that they're going to do, I think, for the comic. That background is nothing but cardboard. They're posing as superhero pose for a photographer. It's all promotion, and they all think it's stupid and silly, just about, except for Danny. But it's not so much that they think it's stupid as that they're all still pissed off for the two of them cheating on the other two. And Sandy's been acting kind of weird and feeling weird. We go on. But now, thanks to the fame and seeing Danny on film and everything like that, way back, going back to the first couple issues and stuff with the mug shots and stuff, where they were arrested, where Jack killed somebody and Bethany killed somebody, and they pretty much had that whole blasted factory lab blow up. Now the cops are like, we found them because they have no records, they have no fingerprints, there's no way to track them down. But now that they're, now that they're famous, they're like, we're going to go get them. We are going to get them. We're going to send out our best to bring them in, and they're going to be held accountable for their crimes. So anyway, melodrama with Sandy. Jazz is puking. We're going to find out that she's probably pregnant. Okay, because they're going to get into some real world stuff here, guys. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, we're going to get into some real life stuff. Not V for Vendetta, not The Question. Not Mr. A. That's probably more appropriate. But we got Xanathus sitting there walking the streets, doing his best Jack the Ripper, taking out hookers so he can feed and continue to get stronger and stronger. Who was Granny Hooker? There you go, guys. There you go. So more Aldous Hilltop telling Xanathus, what are you doing? You're getting out of line. You're too loud. He's like, I'm guaranteeing you will be president. So shut the fuck up and stuff. Right. And they find out that Jazz is pregnant. All right. They're in the real world now. They're not in the greenery having sex, virtual reality sex. This was real. So Nathan has now knocked up Bethany. And just in case you forgot, guys, there's 3 or 4 pages of Mark Ivy that's not going anywhere. If you like 7 of 9 a little bit, they kind of touch on that with how he was raised and what he could be or might not be. All right. And then we have a Frank Miller cover because this is the one where they're in the spotlight. John Byrne, they're not doing it yet, but coming up, there'll be something coming up that's kind of a response to Image at the time, right? But we got this fantastic Sin City-like Frank Miller cover. And as you can see, we're going to have them in court. Okay. So, but basically they are busted by the police. Police have found them. It's the real world. You committed murder. We're bringing you back. You're going to answer for those murders. There's going to be a trial. Oh man, let me get this open. Yeah. So yeah, Frank Miller cover was kind of nice, right? But we see more of the greenery, things that are going on back there. The twins, where they think babies come from, they just appeared in the temple when they were put on the virtual reality machine, right? So everybody would come and greet them. So that's where they think babies came from. They just appeared in the temple. Yeah, no imagery there of the big black hole that they walk into where they find the babies. Yeah, Byrne's not making a vulva joke here. Yeah, at all. So they're going to talk about it and what they did in the greenery and all that stuff. So this is what I'm saying. I'm just kind of flying through this because it's all talking heads and soap operas at this point. What are we going to do about the comic? And what is Sandy going to do with these jerk artists around her and stuff, right? And she's just had enough. And again, Tony ends up getting tortured again. Just showed up and got a bag over her head or something, right? So these mad surgeons walk in, they grab Jazz, they disappear with her, and you're going to find out that she ends up having a procedure done that she will no longer be pregnant after the procedure, and all hell breaks loose. And now we're like back in Fantasyland and promotion in this little movie where the next men go into action, the fantasy world, out in the real world. But how can this really be happening? And then there's a giant net on there. They're captured. The SWAT team comes in. And the sheriffs come all the way from, I guess, Texas to New York in their cowboy hats and sunglasses, smirking, and like, we always get our man. So, yeah, they're taken back to answer for Jack killing somebody, Bethany killing somebody. With Bethany, I think it ends up being, self-defense, because like they threw her on that pool table, guys. It was over. So here we go. It's going to be a bunch of talking heads in this one. I'll flip through a few pages. I think you kind of get the idea. The longer the book runs, the more it's just talking heads and drama and teases and stuff, right? Now it's not at all not at all like a superhero book. It's trying to be sci-fi. So anyway, Danny's friend, sister finds out he's been arrested. Sandy's there and all this stuff. Somewhere along the point, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Sandy sleeps with Danny. And then you find out that the next men, just to make it more interesting than what we're seeing here with all the talking heads and stuff. But Danny, she had slept with Danny. We may have went over it, and she's starting to notice that her body is changing. And there's things going on in New York where they're seeing people flying through the air, and the next men were running around and stuff, right? And it turns out that her power is that she's bringing comic book people, comic book characters and stuff, and pulling them into the real world. And at the same time, she is affecting reality to where her body is changing. She's becoming a long-legged blonde and stuff. So here's what I'm talking about: Byrne's artwork and work, what was going on in the 90s. And I saw this start in the 80s at DC and stuff, right? Talking heads, talking heads, jury, talking heads. The mom has been using Danny to, be treated like a little queen and stuff. And she's still smacking her daughter around. Her daughter fights back. Who knows? Who knows, right? More comic book stuff. The little girl's beating the hell out of the mom, fighting, picking up, taking up for herself. But it turns out it's not the little girl doing it. Turns out there's a twin. There is another next man there. The babies you saw at the beginning, it's all coming back to me where that was Danny and a twin. The twin disappeared. Turns out there's been another next man there traveling with Danny this whole time. And it's invisible. So yeah, I don't know how the power works off the top of my head, but yeah, there's another next man. I forgot all about that, as you can see. So anyway, he's with, he's a lustful man. He's with another hooker listening to the news about the next men. Anyway, as the court goes, the quickest trial that I've ever seen in comics or in the real world, they turn around, they're all guilty. They are all guilty. They are going to jail for murder. And while we're at it, we got more Mark IV going on, whatever. And you can order your Next Men jacket if you're really into this for $50 in 1993. So yeah, they've been found guilty, right? And now this is where the Next Men take a different turn, right? We get a tone, right? We're about to have a character disappear. We're about to have brainwashing. We're about to have a virtual reality and real world that is really just a mind fuck, if you will, and everything like that, right? So basically we go into faith. And basically what happens is that our next men go on the run. This is Jack's last story with us, right? So two gigantic hands busting through the ground, and there's people underground flipping out. Are we back in the tunnels? Is it more next men? Oh my God, what is this? What is this? We have the evil character, the bad guy from the Action Max stories in the real world, and he's free and he's walking around and he wants to know what's going on and he's flipping out. So Byrne has repeated himself. First, we had the next man come out of the green. I never put this together until now. They've come out of the green into the real world, and now we have comic book characters coming into the real world. Byrne touched on this in a little bit in Starbrand, where he actually had an issue of Starbrand take place at a comic book convention, and Mark Grunwald and I think the Falco and some of the Marvel staff at the time were there talking to Starbrand about a hero in real life. So anyway, all of a sudden we're getting all these characters coming in, and Sandy's waking up from nightmares. And look at this, Byrne snuck in Superman. Look at that shirt. That is a Superman S. That's backwards because her shirt is inside out. That is a bold move, sir. So Sandy's having these dreams, and when she's dreaming, all these superheroes and supervillains and characters are coming into the real world. Meanwhile, we're back in jail with the next men. They've been found guilty. Tony has disguised herself. All she did was put on one wig and a pair of glasses, a la, I'm not going to say it. That's all it takes. And she's breaking them out, guys. Everybody's getting them out. They're breaking them out. And then Jack is just like, I can walk out anytime I want. So he just busts out of jail. And look at this. Byrne is plugging Danger Unlimited in his own book. And yeah, more talking heads. They've escaped jail. Mark Ivy is popping up here and there. We've got the guy from the future. You remember him? The red guy? Well, yeah, he's still in the story here. He's still running around a little bit.
So the next men keep. What are we going to do with the next men? They broke out of jail. Where are they going? Well, they're going literally underground. They found another hole. Jack passed back out, and it turns out they're with the homeless underground in New York. And there's a preacher there to greet them who's blind. Jesus saves. And then again, of course, Sandy has started noticing more and more things about herself since she slept with Danny. I don't know if she's put it together. And just if you forgot, we still have Mark Ivy here doing their best prisoner. Yeah, this starts feeling like the prisoner with the Mark Ivy stuff, Mark IV, if you will. So that's number 19. Number 20, we're about to get Hellboy, guys, if you're sneaking in there. Here we go. Byrne is good with cowboy hats. Got a lot of practice with them drawing Wolverine civilian clothes. Absolutely. I won't be picking this title up. I'm currently reading The Authority, which is enough superhero deconstruction for me. Someone must hate superheroes. I don't think he hates superheroes. I think he was legitimately really trying something different here, but there's just not enough happening, which is why I think he came up with this storyline. That's coming up next. So we get Faith, right? So Jack ends up down here in the underground, if you will, with this blind preacher, and the next men are all there. They hide out with them. Paper quality has gone up, if you notice. Dollar comics, freaking out. Where's my next man? This is great. This is great publicity. People are still looking for them. There's a whole world in the underground. Not Morlocks, not X-Men. Okay, not the Morlocks, not the X-Men, right? But yeah, there's oh man. So yeah, we get a little artistry here. We have Jack laying down because he passed out again. But we also have Xanathus sitting here laying down in the opposite direction, mirroring that page. Yeah, and we get a recap of 2112 finally, how it all comes together. And it looks like there's some actual panels from 2112 in this. So we get caught up about why he's there, what he's doing. And I don't know if they've done it yet, but they kind of tell you why Xanathus has such a interest in Aldous Hilltop becoming president. Okay. So, yeah, more talk about comic book shops. Sandy and her comic book bad guys coming out from the comics and stuff go after a poor, comic book shop owner who's got 50% off on his books. So a Superman villain ends up reading about himself to figure out what's going on with him, and that there's toys of him in Action Max. And then all of a sudden, Jack in the real world ends up getting handed the Bible, and that's why he takes off. I'll just get it out of the way. He ends up finding religion, finds stories, and realizes that he has committed a sin. So he disappears in the underground with the blind priest and everything to, make amends, I guess, right? Now, this is great because I kept the original bag I bought this in. I got the first appearance of Hellboy in the early 2000s for $2.50. So $2.50. Surely to God, this is in the bag, right? Yeah. So we're going to bring this out. I'm bringing this out just for you guys. We're going to go pretty quick through this because basically so Jack is imagining a Bible story that he's reading with characters that he knows, and it's resonating with him. So basically, Jack has found religion. And it's actually a nice little read here with Byrne, doing something here that's fantastic. It's actually some heavy stuff there for a minute. And then we get anticlimactic and find out it's just Jack reading, right? You're like, what is going on? So they're talking about he's having, I'm guilty. I did it. Some things are going on up in New York. And what has happened is that in the world of the Next Men, Hellboy is already a popular comic book, and Sandy has brought him in. And we have Mike Mignola drawing in a comic book for the first time, Hellboy. Now, I think it was issue 10 or 14. There's a poster in the back of the wall that has Hellboy on it, right? So basically, John Byrne is tying in a bunch of stuff at Dark Horse, right? Hellboy has Ape Sapien. Ape Sapien pops up in Babe. The Liberty Torch of Liberty has a picture taken with Hellboy, and the Torch of Liberty is tied into Danger Unlimited, which makes Monkey Man and O'Brien by Art Adams is there. So I'm going way back on you guys with these heroes and stuff, right? So basically, we have tied in Art Adams, we have tied in Mike Mignola and John Byrne into this little universe that ends up being just a comic book universe, right? He did this in She-Hulk. His John Byrne's She-Hulk, Savage She-Hulk, or Sensational She-Hulk book. If you get to issue 50, you find out that it is a comic version of She-Hulk that is sold in the Marvel Universe. It's very meta. So that's what's going on here. It's meta. It's all meta. So here is your first appearance of Hellboy in comics. Yeah. Monsters fighting monsters and Sandy having dreams and wanting to know what's going on. So that's it, guys. That is one of the reasons this series has stayed relevant. People are always talking about the first appearance of Hellboy, so they will keep an eye out on Next Men books and stuff. That's what I think, in the real world, right? So as we are there with faith in the Next Men discovering religion, and in that theme, we got Hellboy, and we have Xanathos, So there's some overtones there. Byrne's trying. There's a theme there: heaven, hell, demons, angels, religion. We get the procedure done where she gets rid of the baby, if you will, right? So all these stuff that Sandy's dreaming, I guess it's like tearing down the buildings and stuff. We got a very pregnant Jazz running around. Oh, running from control. Control finds her. They get saved. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's not all that interesting, honestly. The visuals are good. Byrne has really gotten into his new style of art here. Terrible things are just happening to people, and that's one of the reasons I can't grasp the real memory of what's going on in the story like I normally do with things. Like I can tell you Watchmen back and forth. I got stuff I read when I was 5 years old I can tell you going on, but Byrne has just reached a point where it's sporadic. There feels like a lot's going on, but it's not going anywhere. And this is just happening. It's like, okay, it's your turn for bad things to happen to you. There's nothing really there. It's just an excuse to really draw some weird scenes. We get Bethany naked now and stuff, right? A lot of action. So whatever Byrne was doing, I don't know. But anyway, they return to the surface. Control has found the Next Men. They're on the lam from the police. Jasmine is getting tricked here, I think more or less, and they end up taking her baby, is what they end up doing. Late term even. So yeah, I don't know. I guess he feels like he's a writer, if you will, right? So let's just torture all the characters and everything, right? So anyway, for whoever is blowing up the tunnels, whatever's going on, whoever's after them, they're on the lam. Jack has decided to stay underground, like I've told you many, many times. Everybody's working their way through their shit. Meanwhile, the baby is gone. So that's supposed to be your moment to terrify you. Meanwhile, with Mark Ivy, we get gorillas and more sort of like A Prisoner Tale is what it feels like to me. That surreal 60s stuff with a labyrinth. Are you with me, guys? Are you seeing what I'm saying here with the Gonzo review? Let me know if you're liking it before I decide to do any more of these. Because like I said, they're unpredictable. I never know what's going to grab me, how it's going to go. It's more of a stream of consciousness thing. Okay, where we at here? I would have never guessed Hellboy came from this. Same with Constantine and Swamp Thing. Yeah, that's comic book history that I want to spare you right now. Byrne was helping Mignola with the Hellboy stories. He wrote the scripts. Yeah, I also like how when Mignola freaked out a little bit when Byrne was like, "You're on your own. You can do it," because he had faith in him. Yeah, I think he did Seeds of Doom, the first arc, and then he just sort of let him go. And if you read from that first miniseries where Byrne helped script it to the second one when Mignola took over, I think it's better. And that's not slamming Byrne on that. That's not slamming John Byrne on that. I think Mike Mignola just had the voice in his head about Hellboy actually come out. I thought there was a little bit more humor in there and stuff. I thought it was really good. There was an attempt at Dark Horse to market the Legend brands together. Yes, that's what I was leading up to, and I keep waiting to see the Easter Island Rockhead that Mignola drew. I'm wondering when they did it. I thought they'd already done it by now. Oh yeah, that's why I was tying everything together there, right? So these things. Tell you what, here we go. Oh, I'll be damned. They're right there. It's right there. Yeah, there we go. The Legend brand. The Legend brand, everybody had an opinion about Image. Okay. So just kind of bottom line what this is. Byrne always kind of took a shot at Liefeld and stuff, right? There's an issue of Sensational She-Hulk where the first 3 or 4 pages he draws like Liefeld. The Renee Wittestatter comes out, yells at him to do his job better. And you turn the page and Byrne shows how much better he can draw. Okay. So there's things going on at Image where they said they were going to be one thing and in Byrne's opinion, they weren't. So he said, we're going to show you what that means. So they decided to come up with a Legends imprint with Mark Allred, Art Adams, Frank Miller, Mike Mignola, John Byrne. I think that's everybody. So yeah, they just stuck that on their books and called themselves Legend because they really were creator owned, if you will, right? So now we get into Power. Did I skip ahead here? I got another issue here of the Frank Miller cover. But anyway, we get into Power. This is where we find out Sandy has, what's going on with her, the power that she has, the effects of finding out that to get superpowers, it is actually a sexually transmitted disease, people. Okay. Yeah. If you want powers, you sleep with someone with powers. And that's what happened with Sandy, right? So this is all about Sandy and Dollar Comics. And now we have superheroes flying all over the place, right? We have an actual evil villain from a comic book running around and stuff, right? I actually found this sort of fun a little bit after everything that had been happening in this book, trying to get heavy with it and stuff, right? Jack Kirby had passed away, 1917 to 1994. So we're in 1994 now, guys. That explains why I had to back up and get some issues. I was in the military by now, I think. Yeah, I have to think back. Yeah, so yeah, I had a little bit of a gap there. There's probably about 5 months I couldn't collect comics. I made it one time on an Échéance pass and mailed some stuff back to my grandmother's house, but that was probably about it. So here's Sandy looking at herself and all the changes and stuff. Of course, we get a little TNA there, and she's enjoying her body and her goofy friends and everything. And as far as I know, the next men are still on the lam. Yeah, not Dazzler, okay, not Carol Danvers, So anyway, a little bit of history, looking in the future. Mike Ivy's talking about it, or not Mike Ivy, but our cop from 2112 from the future. He's given a history now about how Aldous becomes president for life. How the next men start popping up with, people have powers because it's sexually transmitted. And what happens in the world, how babies are born, killing people and things like that, and what they had to do to the world. So, yeah, all that payoff took forever if you read 2112. Okay, so we get next men fighting characters that have been in comic books. Everybody is still having their melodrama. That was the perfect word, melodrama, from, the two people sleeping together and not realizing that there's more important things in this world by now. So, and now Bethany's like whipping her hair around to take out people, scarring them up, going after the monkeys and stuff, right? So basically, we're just overrun with comic book characters in the real world. Yeah, like I said, things are starting to slowly dovetail with Mark Ivy. They remind you of the cop from the future from 2112 in there. Aldous is getting evil. And I don't know, man. It's all coming to a head, right? So when I say I don't know, it's that, as you can tell, I'm not super enthused with the next men by this point. I think I'm just in there to see how it ends, right? Because I do believe it was announced that Byrne's going to take a break from this book by this time. I'm going by memory here. And he said it was because of the glut of the market, that he's going to wait until things were a little bit better. I believe this is when he probably went back to DC and at some point picked up like Wonder Woman, probably did that Lab Rat stuff. I don't know. I can't quite remember exactly where he ended up after the Next Men right at the top of my head. But it probably around 95, 96. I'm pretty sure he was back doing something. So anyway, we're getting these great painted covers. Here's the pencils. I mean, Byrne just nailing it with some of this artwork. And I kind of preferred the pencils over the painted stuff, you know. So now that I've dabbled in painting a little bit, I can appreciate what they've done. So here's a little fun issue. Okay, guys, so we're going to slow down. We have comic book characters all over the place. We're dealing with comic book companies, right? This is sort of chasing Amy before chasing Amy a little bit with behind the scenes of the creators and stuff, right? So what we have here is we have a funny little sequence with John Byrne, Mike Mignola, Ben Horowitz were here. Who is this? And they're acting like Mike Mignola is this little, he looks a little bit like Costanza here in this one, right? George Costanza. And they're acting like he's just growling stuff, like they're going to sick him. They're going to sick him on there. Who are these? Who's the third guy? Beware the Wrath of Mignola. This is actually pretty cool, man. Number 2. Okay, this is 2 of 4. Issue. Oh, give me the issue there, sir. 24. Number 24, right? So we got 3 big comic book creators showing up to see the Horowitz guy that runs Dollar Comics, right? And they're acting like Mignola is just like a beast that's going to tear his face off. Doing movie deals with characters, you mean? I only let him have Hellboy for a temporary license, and suddenly he's guest starring in every book you've got. And then this one guy's back here. I'm going to figure out who that is. That's a real life comic book creator at the time. He's yelling, "Beware the Wrath of Mignola." You know, so that's hilarious. Yeah, so Byrne put himself in the book. And of course, our comic shop owner has been dragged to Dollar Comics, probably leading him around. And, you know, so we got Mike Mignola going, "Wow, great costume. Where can I get one like that of Hellboy?" So, yeah, that's hilarious. So, yeah, our comic book creators get beat by Frankenstein's monster has attacked the scientist, you know, has attacked Frankenstein, right? So, yeah, I think this is full of a lot of in-jokes and his buddies, and they're just moving things on, having a little fun. Concrete shows up because all the comic book characters, as I said, Sandy is bringing them to life into the real world. Yeah, so Concrete, I completely forgot Concrete was in the Next Men, guys. Oh, man, that's hilarious. And he disappears. Oh, man. Yeah, we get the origin of X and Max and his bad guy here, whoever this is. I could really care less at this point. You know, so yeah, he's, you know, the creator meets his monster, if you will. Oh my God, why do you do this to me? You know, I'd already seen this in Animal Man with Grant Morrison, is what I'm thinking. Yeah, so yeah, more going on. Whatever. Sorry, guys. We're gonna move on. We're about done here. 5 or 6 more issues to go, and it's really all downhill from here, to tell you the truth, right? So we got to get on with this story. We get Monkey Man and O'Brien in here. I completely forgot about Concrete. That's so funny. We get Elf Quest in here, guys. Look at this. Elf Quest comes in. I'm now realizing that this may be Byrne really trying to show those Image guys that they're not all that original. We've been here forever. You know what I mean? And what's ironic about this is that that's what's going on. You know, he's pulled. All they need is Cerebus in here, man. But you know, they went all the way back to ElfQuest. They went back to Concrete. All these indie characters, alternative books and stuff that's popped up. That's going back to Wendy Penny and them. So I wonder if he's sending a message out to those Image guys. But what's ironic about this is probably like back in 80, 81, 82, whatever it was, when Steve Gerber wanted the rights to Howard the Duck and he sued Marvel and they came out with Destroyer Duck. Byrne had put out a comment where he is fine being a cog in the machine. So they ended up having a character called Johnny Cogburn because he was a company man. So now here he is in the indie scene, and he's got something to say again about the indie stuff. That's pretty wild. That's a cool observation. I like how we've been here this long for me to get something out like that. Yeah, so Monkey Man, O'Brien, Elf Quest, everything's just going on with all these characters coming out. The next man keep moving forward, doing whatever they're doing. Again, all of a sudden, man, guys, they're seeing Superman out there, but they just won't say it. So, like I said, Byrne, almost it seems like a lot of his stuff, Superman still kept popping up. So anyway, what do we got here? Oh my goodness, who is sleeping with who now? I don't know. More sex, more next men running around New York, more legs. There's Sandy. What do we got going on? Oh, okay. So I think that's Sandy's boyfriend cheating on her, and Sandy can now see him, and she sets the place on fire. She is now able to go full Dark Phoenix, if you will. But not the X-Men, guys. But not the X-Men, Anyway, more fighting, more comic book characters coming to life, and finally we have Action Max coming in. Action Max coming in there. Oh my goodness. And it goes on and on, guys. Sorry. On and on. Look at that. Not Johnny, not the Human Torch, not Nova. That looks like Nova before she became a Herald of Galactus. Yeah, as you can see, all hell's just breaking loose. She thinks she's in big trouble. She's losing control. But like I said, not Dark Phoenix at all, guys. Not the Dark Phoenix. Doesn't matter that she's now in red leather, wearing a trench coat. And we finally come to the end of this series, and it looks like it's not going to end well because Danny's crying again. Danny's got a horror mom and a brutalized sister and an invisible twin, and now the girl that took advantage of him came out and took him out. But like I said, this whole everything with the power going to her head, and she's getting out of control, and the next men don't know what to do, and Jazz is on the sidelines, which was pretty smart considering she's just agile. Talking heads, all hell breaking loose. Sorry if I'm going so fast, guys, but we just got to get to the end of the series, man. There's not a lot going on anymore. Just gratuitous fighting, and Sandy's become what is she going to accept herself and let all this go and stop trying to be something she's not? How will it end, guys? What will she do? So Sandy ends up redeeming herself. She casts away her Dark Phoenix side, even though it's not Dark Phoenix, accepts who she is, gets rid of her, lands down here, and looks like she's dead. Could she be dead? Is she dead? I don't know, but that's the recycled cover. And on to the point. Now we're into lies, right? So Jazz, if I remember this part, and this gets kind of messed up. This is the part where I was like, kill it with fire. It is time. I just finished the series. So let's look at some comments there, because you might like what happens in this, but this is like super soap opera stuff. Super soap opera stuff. It blows my mind. It's as believable as soap opera stuff is what I'm getting at. Byrne was helping. Yeah, we read that. Pello, what do we got here? There was also an attempt at Dark Horse to make the Legend branded other titles together. Yes, the advertisements were cool for that. Here we go. I think he did Fourth World before Wonder Woman. I think that came after. I do believe that came after Pello. I'll check it out. My wife got me the Fourth World Omnibus proper for Christmas last year, and I'm actually halfway through it. And then when I say Fourth World Omnibus, I mean Jack Kirby's Fourth World that John Byrne did with the Walt Simonson covers. And then Walt Simonson ended up doing, at some point, if not at the same time, doing the Orion series, those 25 issues, I think. I'll look to see what the years are. The Orion series is the one that's thrown me off with dates. But that could be, I don't know. I swear I think he did Wonder Woman before. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. You got better access to Google than I do right now. So But anyway, here we are on the last story arc of the X-Men. We have made it this far. Kudos to the people that have made it this far, man. This, yeah. So we get into lies. We get into another everything you know is a lie. We get back into Jazz coming out of the green again, right? So basically, what happens is we have Aldous here, right? We have the ultimate mind stuff going on, but um, so basically, we got our cop from the future, man. Okay, now we're reminded he's there again for a reason. He's going after somebody. We got Mark Ivy, we got Jazz and Tony riding around, and we got Danny's sister, going full ninja here with her jump rope. When you look at this, she's going to escape. She's had enough. But like I said, it's talking heads, and people they're just wandering around. I'm like, where are we going with this? I don't know. I mean, it's what I'm trying to get at. This is just some of this stuff is just ridiculous. And here's Danny pouring his heart out to Sandy. Apparently, she lived or something, and then she ends it. She decides to end it. Which is horrible. So then on their way, all espionage here. All of a sudden, when Jazz and Tony are hit by a semi truck, knocked off the road into a big wreck, and Jazz comes to. And they're telling her she's got a husband and stuff. She's tied up, and they're going to do terrible things to her. They're going to Are they going to experiment to her? Are they going to torture her? Which they are. What do they want to know? Who are these people? And then all of a sudden, right when the torture gets too much, she wakes up in the greenery, and her husband, Aldous Hilltop, is there to greet her. Has this whole series been a lie? Has this all been in the greenery? Has this all been a virtual reality? Is everything that's happened in the next bin not been real? Well, that's what they're getting at. Okay. And speaking of the Legend brand, here is the ad that I absolutely loved when this came out. Action, anguish, horror, hijinks. Legend has it. Yeah. Legend has it. Whatever you're looking for, Legend has it. So what is going on? What is going on? What is this husband that she has, and what is this waking up to the real world for the first time? She has all her hair. Everybody is so nice to her. Everybody's being very nice. The story so far, they just don't know. Has none of this really happened? Has all of this been part of an up and up experiment where everybody is now waking up at the same time? Hold me, please. What happened? It was horrible. We're here to protect you. So it turns out she's a trophy wife. She has this wonderful life with Aldous Hilltop, and they're in love, and all her friends are fine. And they keep telling her everything's fine. I mean, we've gone total recall here, guys. Okay. This is like some 70s melodrama. I'm telling you, man, this is like some B movie from the 70s now, because all of reality is not what she remembers. All her friends are fine. They're in love. You know what I mean? Jack is just fine. Everybody's just fine, right? And there's, it just kills me. She starts to accept it a little bit, slowly starts to accept it. Taking showers, living in the high life of a mansion, living high on the hill there, right? Goes out in the woods and he's pouring his heart out to her. Everybody's cleaned up. Not phallic imagery, there. So there was never any all those bad things that happened to her, and the baby she lost, or all that stuff got took of, never happened here, right? So she finally sleeps with him and plays into it. She sleeps with Aldous Nova. Now, what happens, guys, when you sleep with a next band? You get powers, and it happened. And she's convinced this is reality. They were able to convince her and brainwash her that this is her life. And now she's just silently sleeping in bed. It's like a Pearl Jam song. She lies and says she's in love with him. Can't find a better man. Well, she found other people's men. So all of a sudden, look at this. What happens when you sleep with a next man? She wasn't supposed to have powers. None of that really happened. All right, guys. We're back in the greenery again. We're remembering things. Is this real? Look, it's David. She's remembering David. She's having a dream. This is a dream, guys. David from the greenery. David, the the next men that they found alive living amongst the bones down in the tunnel. We're going all the way back to the beginning again. And then all of a sudden we got her husband Aldous Nova with his Gene Simmons like tongue coming at her because he's a snake. And she wakes from the nightmare and he's like, everything is okay. She's not wanting to remember anything, but they have a doctor on hand. The doctor is there. Oh man. But anyway, it's more of this stuff where life is perfect and she's not believing it. Do we believe it? And we're reminded of all the characters that are here. Here's Mark IV. You didn't have to read any of the backup features. He hasn't been seen for a little bit, so we're going to get caught up right here. He can shapeshift, if you will. He has an agenda. He's a rich billionaire anyway, also, or something, or cloned, or who knows. And then all of a sudden, our powers emerge. Aldous Hilltop has powers, and he's starving and he's hungry, and the first person he feeds on is Control, the guy that runs the Next Men, the agents of the Next Men who never really go on missions and stuff, right? And then he gets hold of Jazz and stuff, right? So do you know where this is going? Do you know who Aldous Hilltop really is? Do you know why Xanathos felt like he had to go back to 1955, go back in time? It's because he is Xanathos. It is him. Byrne has, he's, what did he call it? He is a time paradox, more or less, or something, right? He lives in a closed timeline. You know what I mean? He's his own creator. It's a loop of time there. It's where he lives at, right? So Mark Ivy comes in. Now you find out that everybody's come from the past to stop Aldous Hilltop from becoming Xanathos, to keep him from becoming president. Mark Ivy has an agenda also. They're all dovetailing here and stuff, right? Byrne is finally getting to the end and shooting this damn head finally in the book. Shooting it in the head. Shooting this book in the head. It's been pretty long. I've gone through 30 issues, 31 actually. So anyway, just to get to the point of this, all things are dovetailing. Turns out that they just brainwashed. They brainwashed her well, Jasmine was brainwashed, tricked to seduce him, all so he could have powers, become Xanathos, also that she can escape. And what is she going to do? A black portal appears. A being comes out, reaches out their hand, and Jazz disappears. So each one of the next men end up getting taken by this person in the spacesuit that you don't know who it is. It's very Ridley Scott to me. It looks very Ridley Scott to me. But anyway, so what's happening here is as all the next men are trying to stop Xanathos, and Xanathos is Danny's dad, and all this soap opera stuff is coming on. What ends up happening is the good guys do get a swing here, right? So it turns out that Mark Ivy will become Aldous Hilltop because he's a shapeshifter. Our cop from the future actually kind of fails. And right when all hell is breaking loose, all the next men are pulled into the future. Well, I'm not going to say where. They're pulled through the black hole by someone. Right when the White House is bombed, Aldous Hilltop and everybody is dead. And this is where Mark Ivy survives and he becomes Aldous Hilltop, right? So we have a failure, a win, wrapping up the freaking story. The future is averted, apparently. And now we have all the issues of Next Men on the back of this. So you can go back and see if you need a checklist before this is before the internet. And that is the Next Men, guys. Mixed reviews. It had high points, low points, a few little cool things. I saw doing this where John Byrne tried to become more of a writer. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. Hold on. I don't know. So tell me what you think. Tell me what you thought. We're going to look at some of this. I am tired. I went through 30 issues, a million miles an hour. I should have drunk coffee. Let me know if you like these Gonzo reviews because the first one was fun. I broke it up in 2 parts. This one, it was all right. It was a cool experience. I enjoyed it with you. So it was a good way to kill a couple hours on a Saturday here. Let me see what you got here. All right, Paolo. See, I find this a bit more interesting. What came first? Okay. You were right. Wonder Woman in 95 takes over New Gods from Rachel Pollack in 96, and it gets relaunched as Jack Kirby Fourth World 97. Yeah. Okay, cool, man. I'm still 90. I'm still about a year off though. I thought it was 98. So I'm in, at least I was in the ballpark there. I was in the ballpark. And his own creator, recycling his ideas for Star Brand. Exactly. Now, that was the thing about being a John Byrne fan. Is that, when I was reading Next Men and a few other things, I was sort of like, he's rehashing some of his stuff as much as he does his artwork and stuff. So going into the 90s and stuff like that, I'm still a Byrne fan. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not a fanboy. I can actually look at a lot of his work critically. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm getting at. What he was doing with the Next Men, I don't know if he was having fun or what. I don't know. Or maybe he was writing the kind of story he likes. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, man, it was just one anticlimactic moment after the other, after the other. It seems like he had the instincts to up the action when he needed to. He tried to go a little meta. I don't know. But, after Next Men, I don't feel like Byrne was ever really the same. I think the best thing he wrote after this was Superman, Batman Generations, Part 1 and Part 2. Third one, another time travel story. I don't know. So anyway, there you go, guys. If you like this, let me know. If you have any requests, I've got a request for John Byrne OMAC. I've got several requests for John Byrne, X-Men, his X-Men: The Hidden Years with Tom Palmer. I enjoyed that series for what it was. And I might do that, but I don't know if I want to do a Gonzo review or actually do where we slow down and look at a few issues and properly review it after I reread it and remind myself of the series. So thanks for everybody that popped in there. 2 hours, 20 minutes, 30 issues, 31 issues. Yeah, that was something else. And you guys be excellent to each other. Read your comics, like, subscribe, sub. And for you guys that are live, that we're doing this on December 21st, Merry Christmas.